So today I've got a few water carries, and I've actually brought with me a bladder system which is a sleeve, and inside the sleeve would fit the vinyl bladder. So a traditional type, but I've not seen that type before because it's very flat and wide rather than narrow and long. And that system would fit onto a molly, and I have the Bulldog molly yoke, and it all really ties in really well, and we're going to have a look at that right now. This is the Mule pack. It looks like a backpack. It has a housing in here for a bladder, because that is one way of carrying your bladder with your system. The other is on something like this, which is a webbing yoke. So I can run the bladder case in actually onto the back directly of the Bulldog webbing, and then the water that I put in it is a sleeve which is wider but shorter, which means I'm not carrying the length of the water along the length of my spine. It spreads out a lot better, and it's very compact and thin as well. Whether I'd get away with carrying a pack on top of that, I'm yet to find out. Undo that. So there it is. This is the back of the Bulldog here, and it has all these molly web attachments all across the back. The actual yoke on the back is very wide, as you can see. So I needed to find something that will match that exactly. This is a handcrafted one, I think. I've not seen one before. The other option I could have gone with was the Litres system, which I had offered to me, but I really wanted to try this one out first. So we're going to complete part of the actual MTP webbing by finishing all the yoke system off here with the water. I'm not always a fan of carrying water in bladders. I have other ways of doing that. But first we're going to have a look at the actual bladder case itself. Just zip this back up. It's thin, not a lot in the height, very wide. On the reverse are the molly housings for the molly straps. This isn't actually issue. I think this guy makes these, and it's not cheap either. I didn't even get the bladder that goes inside this for 40 quid. So I need something that is going to last as long as the army stuff. I hope it does. Comes with backpack straps. These were missing in the original order, and he had to remake me some, which took him a couple of days, which is pretty good. So I can adapt through QR bottles like this, all on a multicam. Has all the D attachment loops you'd expect, and two of these would enable me to carry this just on its own as a 2.5 or 3 litre water pack. I think I can get 3 litres in this. I've got 3 litres anyway, and it houses very nicely. And all I do, back of the yoke like this would sit my water bladder, and the great thing is it doesn't hang very low here because of its limited height. It's quite wide as well, so it displaces the weight of the water more evenly over your back. And I don't want to be carrying large burdens or anything, so just running a simple system like this where the water's on my back and all the camp equipment is on webbing all the way around is going to be a lot more beneficial to me personally. But I mean, you can run your system however you want, and that's the beauty of webbing. Now the fit for this is absolutely perfect. I've had other models where it's not been correctly spaced, making fitting a whole new nightmare. So in through the top loops of the yoke. So I alternate from the bladder cover to the yoke all the way down. Now once you've done this, it just stays like that until it's time for this to come off, in case you want to replace it with something else. And the great thing, the actual bladder cover itself has additional molly loops on the outside. But in my case, I'm going to be looking out for a solar panel to put on mine. But for the time being, I have bought a couple of pouches which will enable me to demonstrate that it will house additional pouches. But I do want to run this pretty flat eventually, just in case I need to get a pack over the top of the water. We'll see. Last two pop studs here. Now these are the straps off the Bulldog yoke, and what I've been doing is coming through the last molly attachment on the actual bladder and going through the actual molly loops on the platform belt itself, and it just stabilises it a whole lot better. Now I'm going to tidy it all up a little later, but for demonstration, as you can see here, that's neat enough. So the actual platform belt itself has all my dedicated pouches already pre-attached. Now I have the MTP molly water bladder cover. I've attached the drink straw hose through the molly on the shoulder strap left for me, and at the moment it hasn't got the actual bladder itself connected in, so that's what we're going to do next. Now I think this is either 2.5 or 3 litres, and it connects via a pull off top here. I can open it up wide and house all the water I need. It has a central strengthening bar there, and I roll it all up. This is quite different to other things you might have seen. Now just slide the bar across like that, locks into place. Let's test if it's going to leak. Nope, nothing's going to leak from there. Here at the bottom is the connector piece that we saw hanging off the actual drinks tube. So I'm just going to attach that, and it pushes straight in like that. And if I was to press this white button here, it releases it. And again, there's no leaking. So in it goes, and we're complete. All that remains is to put it in the actual bladder housing itself. Fold the bar down and velcro it up. I haven't got the height that you would on a normal camelback. It's a lot shorter, and it sits only on the middle of your spine rather than all the way down your spine. It's also a lot wider to accommodate that space and displace and spread the weight and volume of that water. So perhaps I could get a pack onto the back of that, because it sits so flat. I haven't actually tried doing that, getting a larger patrol pack on the back, because I've always had other things mollied on. But this here is an Osprey Commander's pouch, and just for demonstration I can molly this on to the actual back of the bladder. And again, the spacings here are absolutely perfect to accommodate any other pouch you want. Sometimes I'd carry a Commander's pouch on the back of that, and have a mag pouch here, open top, with a water filter in, and that could sit next to it, something like that, you see. And I can build up quite a really good webbing set, but I'm not going to do that just yet. these will have another place in the pack. So it's just time to try all that on. I absolutely love the bulldog webbing system as well. Absolutely love it. Now you can see just how flat it sits next to my back. I have everything I need in pouches for a camp out. Now I've connected up the water here to its drinks tube. I give that a pull. Very, very easy. And with that quick click connection system between the actual bladder and the tube, there's no kinks, and sometimes you're really having to pull a lot of air through to get anything, but not with this. None of this was particularly cheap. The bladder cover, about 40 quid. More traditional ones are a lot cheaper, but they're a lot sleeker and a lot longer. I can get the pack on this also. Alternatively, of course, I can carry water in different means. This is my mule pack. It's actually very, very small and compact, and I can get it even smaller. It's hard to get a scale on camera, but it's about the same width as my yoke. It has all the pockets you'd expect, 4 in total. Now this can either run on the back of my cadet bergen or onto the back of the yoke like this, and then I can put the bladder itself into the back here. The trouble I found with that and this narrow mule pack is the water did kind of tend to want to fall out if you put anything more than a litre in, and I wanted more than a litre, so I went with the Blade. The actual mule itself, I don't know who makes it. It was just a lucky find for me, but it's a lot better than the backpack. Now here is the Blade, Highlander Blade. It's solid plastic. I can feel that's a bit damp there, so probably a leaking issue to be addressed. I wouldn't take that as red or anything. It is a good system. Nice open top, easy to fill, and I haven't seen a rigid bladder like this, and I don't think it was a hell of a lot of money either. Between 8 and 12 quid if you shop around. So if you thought there was only the bladder, which is kind of a vinyl like we saw, then you'd be mistaken. This is actually a kind of poly to accommodate sitting on your upper back, and that makes carrying this a real joy. So Velcro mule, put that into the back of my mule right next to my back. Decide which way I'm going to have the tube, left or right, and it can come through one of the loop systems. It has a very small utility at the top there. I'd say as big as a glasses case, so you can get a decent water filter system in this. On the front it has a pocket which on the inside will have all your admin, so your notebook, your pen holders, everything like that in there. Yeah, so the zip here, double-sided. Again, another admin section here, but this plenty big enough to house your waterproofs or even a small cook system, anything you want. And finally, this here is your last one and biggest pocket. On the inside there is a net. Now the actual blade itself and the Mule is a really, really good combination. It can be attached straight to this here, like that, and I've got a full system, but it doesn't allow me to carry a shelter system. So attaching this to the back of my yoke here, a really, really substantial day system. All the weight is spread onto the webbing, the weight of the water, and things for admin are in here. So I can carry the water either separately with this or on the Bergen itself. So there's lots of combinations I can use and lots of systems with the actual bladder itself. It doesn't have to be the vinyl, it can be a hardened poly like that, and I'm not sure what poly that is. It's I'd assume some sort of EVA. I reckon it would have a limited UV protection, so I wouldn't put this blade system here in direct contact with the sun for prolonged periods of time, just because I don't know how much UV protection is on that. It might degrade. Something like this is in its own little housing here on the back. It's going to be fully protected from UV for a long, long time. So they're the ways I'm going to run these systems. Very, very adaptable. And that's about it. This, I'm hoping I can just put a pack over this with a shelter system in all mine, or things like the stoves, the basher and things like that, and I can split the weight between the webbing and the actual pack. And now also this is, well, the Mule pack. Now as soon as I open it all out on the sides, it does fill out, nothing like a 30 litre or anything. And I don't exactly know the literage of it. It was a find on the market, the guy selling surplus, the denier on something like this, probably around 600 denier, and the denier on a Bergen around about 1,000 with this. Not a lot. I don't know how much, but it's not a lot. So, bit of fun there, getting that on. It's quite easy to do. And now I'm going to go back, try out the 50 litres straight onto this, and I have a two-part system ready for 2020 ground bivvy camping. And most of the time this is how I'm going to be running it when I want to take out surplus. Now I'm not sure of the actual name or maker of the actual bladder housing on the back of this yoke. It's a very small manufacturer and it's certainly not issue, but the Kajura on that is also, I'd say, somewhere around 600. It is pretty good. I've been let down quite a lot with Kombat UK with their stitching and particularly the zips, so I thought I'd give this company a go. I'll try and put a link in if you want the camelback bladder itself. It's not cheap though. So that is it, another part of the MTP range.